We want to thank you for joining us here for the Exorcism Team Discussion. We're going to be starting a new teaching series entitled Incest, Molestation, and All Sexual Abuse Brings Big Demons. This is a topic that we wanted to bring forth because we're seeing a lot of people in the body of Christ who have been afflicted by demons of lust and perversion. And we want to say up front that it's not their fault. Because they've been incested or molested or sexually abused at very young ages, they come out with super strong demons. And Sister Barbara and I are going to be talking on these sessions here about things that we've seen, things that we're seeing with God's people. And this is not to bring condemnation upon them, but this is to enlighten you as an exorcism specialist and as a member of the body of Christ, so that you can help them get out of the things that they're into. And, you know, one of the biggest things I think we have right now is that it's not their fault.
Yeah.
Convincing them that they didn't ask to be molested or incested or sexually abused. And I think once we get that barrier down, it's a lot easier to work with them.
Yes. And, you know, we think about all this that's going on, the sex trafficking, and I had heard a lady that was in these tunnels, and those tunnels exist underground, almost like a city. And can you imagine how many women and children, even men possibly, but it's mostly been targeted women and children that are opening they are just innocent victims, but they're being opened up to these big demons. And this is what we're seeing lately. When we start talking to the victims to give us a background, it always leads back little by little to when they were a child, where incest happened to them or they were molested in some way. So this is a very serious thing, and can you imagine how many people are being affected and these open doors, these big demons coming in them?
Yeah, we want to show you how the plan of the enemy has been put in work to destroy the body of Christ. Unfortunately, many people have been incested, molested, or had some type of sexual abuse in their lifetime. However, your sexual abuse manifested in your life, you must know that it is pure evil that did these things to you. And we just want to highlight that. It wasn't you. It wasn't anything that you did. It wasn't the clothes that you were wearing. It wasn't that you were in the wrong place at the wrong time. You were just targeted by evil, and evil picked you out, and evil decided to manifest itself to you. However, I felt led in my spirit to keep the categories of sexual abuse separate. To be incested is different from being molested, is different from being sexually abused. It's all evil, and it's all not good. In some cases where people have been incested, it causes a different type of trauma than someone who has been molested. Sometimes the incest starts out as molestation. Mm-hmm. We have had cases where people were masturbated by their abuser, or the abuser performed oral sex on them. There may have never been any penetration physically anywhere on their body, but they were damaged spiritually by the acts that were done by their abusers. A person who was molested still suffers trauma like those who have been penetrated. To have your physical body touched or fondled at early ages opens the doors for shame and uncleanness to attack that person.
Yes.
They then feel deep shame and regret because their power was removed from them, meaning your ability to control what happens to your life. Mm-hmm. You know, if you look at young kids, sometimes they don't want to take a bath, and mommy and daddy have to tell them, hey, you need to go take a bath because you stinketh. You know, but when someone violates you sexually, there's no getting that back. There's no recouping that power, because oftentimes the incest, the molestation, or sexual abuse occurs, and it's done in the dark.
Yes.
Meaning it's in a secret, and no one can catch it. When they do catch it, it's been going on for years, sometimes for multiple years. Sexual abuse has all of the above and more. It's such a damaging act that takes place inside of the person's mind, will, and emotions. The person who is sexually abused is dehumanized on a level that is greater than those who have been on a level sometimes that is greater than those who have just been molested. And I'm not trying to categorize them in orders of what's worse or not. I'm just saying that they're different in how they need to be treated and in how they need to be ministered to. It's, again, and I'm not taking anything away from anyone who was quote unquote molested, because that still damages your soul. But there's different levels to sexual abuse that take place, and you have to use different approaches.
Yes.
People are taught that their body is nothing more than parts that someone uses. And they're taught this by having repeated sexual abuse take place to them. And over time, they just start developing mindsets that they're not worth anything. They develop mindsets that they don't have any value. So that devaluing that takes place because of the sexual abuse continues to get stronger and deeper on the inside of those people.
Yes.
The damage that is done to the personality and individuality of that person is long lasting. The damage that is done to the personality and individuality of the person is long lasting. In each of these cases, the incest, the molestation, and the sexual abuse cause dissociative identities to be formed. Now, this doesn't have to happen all the time, but because of repeated traumas, repeated abuses, there are cases that we have worked on where the person has formed an alternate personality.
Yes.
And this alternate personality comes up to protect the feelings and the emotions from the real person who's being abused, because the pain and the trauma of this violation, it reaches a point after so much that you just can't deal with it mentally. And this is nothing wrong with them. This really is God's way of protecting them and keeping them safe so that they don't totally lose their mind and just become completely abandoned to whatever goes on. These dissociative identities or alternate personalities can take on many forms and even have layers of demons on the inside of themselves. And we see this happen with different manifestations when we're working on people who have been into deep levels of perversion. Sometimes they manifest a personality who has no knowledge of the sexual abuse whatsoever.
Yes.
So oftentimes someone has said, hey, you've been abused, and they go to counseling, and counseling does nothing for them because they don't access this part of the personality that's carrying all the emotional trauma and the emotional pain.
Yes. I just want to say that also, too, in some of our sessions, some of the victims are saying to us, well, when I was a child, I went to my mother, I went to the adult that was taking care of me, and they didn't want to listen. We need to listen to our children.
Yes.
You have to know your child. And if they keep coming to you about something, listen. And so what has happened in one situation is it was the mother's boyfriend, or no, husband, husband. And I'm not sure if she was the father of that young lady, but she was being abused early on. And then she told her mother, and her mother chose the father and totally just turned her back on her. And so that is another layer. Not only are they as susceptible at a young age with this, whatever the incest, molestation, or type of sexual abuse they have, but they also get rejection from a parent that does not want to acknowledge that this is going on. So that produces some other situations. And also, too, I know that just being around people and, you know, seeing people going through these types of acts, there's something going on there. And they say, well, why can't they stop it? No, because the devil that has been injected in them wants to be satisfied.
Yes.
And so, or they just don't want to recognize that there is something wrong with that person or put them down. I had a situation in my own family. They said, well, that's a shame that she was running around on him and all this and that. She couldn't help it. She needed major deliverance. She was like sleeping with a whole college campus.
And I think that's something that we as members of the body of Christ have to change. We have to change the way our perceptions are of people. And we have to really start looking deeper at what's going on. One of the questions we ask is what's driving this person to do this behavior?
Yes.
And this isn't limited to just sexual abuse or sexual activity or perversions. What's driving them to drink? What's driving them to overeat? What's driving them to find, satisfaction in drugs or pornography? Something down on the inside is not right. And they're trying to fill that need with something. And this is a great place for us to stop this part of the session, but we are going to continue talking about incest, molestation, and all sexual abuse that brings these big demons. Thank you for joining us. Make sure that you tune in to the LighthouseChurchInc.org website, the Facebook page, LinkedIn, and YouTube to learn more about these things. We thank you for joining us. You be blessed.
Yes, be blessed. God bless you.
We want to thank you for tuning in to the Lighthouse Church, Inc. Exorcism Team Discussion. We hope that you're getting a lot out of the teachings. You can always reach out to us through exorcism@lighthousechurchinc.org for any questions or comments or things that you would like for us to teach on. You also can check out our social media pages, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. There you are going to find many, many teachings that will help you grow and help you to stay set free, but also help you to become the exorcism minister that God is calling you forth to be. Thank you, and God bless.